Our next YAP talker is Dana LaCoss. Dana is YAP's New York State Regional Director. She created YAP's 0 to 5 reunification program there. Mom to 7-year-old twins, who she was just talking to on FaceTime, Dana has worked more than 15 years with children and families. She's been with YAP for 12 years, and she said 4 months. And we are happy to have her here with us today. Dana, welcome.
So first I'm going to say I don't know how I keep getting roped into this stuff, but I have to also say this picture is from St. Lawrence County in New York. Who knows where St. Lawrence County in New York is? Go really far north, okay? We have about a foot of snow already, and you can look at the Canadian border, okay? But anyways, that picture was from our 20th anniversary in St. Lawrence County. So St. Lawrence County is a large program in New York, been around 20 years. I hated that picture that the paper took, but everybody said it was wonderful. So I want to talk about this girl I used to know. I knew this 17-year-old girl who had a real rough go of it. She had just overdosed on her medications. She was forced by her mom to have an abortion. She was drinking heavily, snorting pills, smoking a lot of pot, and just plain partying all the time. When she took the ACEs test, does everybody know what the ACEs test is? The ACEs? Okay. She scored an 8 out of 10. Anyone scoring over a 4 on that is destined to not succeed. This girl grew up in a lot of trauma. Her parents had divorced when she was 7. Her mom moved her and her 2 brothers in with a new man. He groomed the family, and in a few short years, his reign of terror began. She was 11 years old when the touching started. Sorry. Then the domestic violence, the physical abuse to her brothers. When she was older and she started pushing him away, he started beating her too. No one intervened, not her mother, not even teachers that saw the bruises, nobody. When she was 15, it got so bad her brothers were living house to house, and her mom finally called the police after her boyfriend had attacked that girl. The police removed him and placed orders, but it only lasted a little while. That girl's brother died that year, and her mom allowed him back. The other brother was a mess, living with friends, dealing drugs to survive. After the funeral, the mom finally kicked out that boyfriend and paid him off with her son's life insurance. The torment didn't stop. He hid in their closets. He was stalking them. He would sleep in his vehicle down the road. This is when the 17-year-old finally had the nerve to tell her mom what she had been holding back. This led to counselors, police, grand jury, and then his massive heart attack 1 week before the trial. This is when the 17-year-old started partying even more. That 17-year-old was me. 4 years ago, I was, let's start way back when Stephanie and Hart and I made the 0 to 5 program. And we wanted to look even further into trauma that kids face and the fact that the 0 to 3, 0 to 5 population is so just fragile. So we wanted to start creating a plan to working with these 0 to 5-year-olds and troubled juveniles too. Around that time, I had attended some conferences about 4 years ago that were kind of all about trauma-informed care. It opened my eyes a lot, personally and professionally. I started digging deeper and realized the reasons why I was so resilient. First, I had no major trauma in the first 6 years of my life. So that was one reason, and that's why it's so important for 0 to 5-year-olds to reduce their trauma. And I had been saved by somebody. My boyfriend at the time was a truly good person, and he's my husband now. So youth who experience trauma need to work through these events and find ways to cope. So in St. Lawrence County, we have been working with 0 to 5 youth and parents to reduce the trauma exposure. It is proven that the first 3 years of a child's life is so important. We're working with social services to ensure that the 0 to 5-year-olds are bonding with a caring adult, they have permanency, and they're safe, and they're being medically taken care of. We have been doing it for about 7 years and still are at about a 95% success rate. We wanted to add more. So we're seeing that caseworkers, service providers, and others who are supposed to be helping are also creating the trauma for these kids. So I teamed up with social services. We're also working with probation too for our juveniles, and the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services to create a systems change. I know Jeff talked earlier about creating systems change. We have been working intensely with the Trauma Institute from the University of Buffalo, and we're creating a trauma team in St. Lawrence County in order to improve everything we do. We're working to include mental health professionals, caseworkers, CPS workers, probation officers. Even our commissioner sits in on these meetings and meets with the University of Buffalo. We want to make sure everybody is informed, families feel safe and comfortable in the buildings that we're working in and where we're meeting them at. We're working to hire professionals who are trauma-informed from day one. We're even incorporating trauma-informed questions into the interview process to see how people can cope with their own life and deal with what we do. Kids have behaviors for a reason. I know why I was using, why I was partying, because I was asking for help. We need to become aware of how to give kids tools and our staff in order to make them resilient as well. I'm finally happy that New York State OCFS for New York State is recognizing that trauma-informed care is a path that we need to follow. So hopefully you guys can start looking at creating a systems change within your counties, within your states, and making sure that we're not re-traumatizing these kids and families that we work with.